Hello, everybody. Welcome to Late Night Football. Welcome to our match reaction show. It's finished. Manchester City 6, Burnley nil. I mean, it was anticlimactic. It was a non-event for all the talk of Kompany versus Guardiola, Master's Apprentice, all of that. I mean, it was a walkover. I mean, they might as well have given City a walkover in this game, and that probably might have been a better thing because at no point did I think Burnley looked like they were going to win the game. And I know that the commentators were keeping on saying that, oh, the first 32 minutes was a fight. It wasn't a fight. It was simply Burnley. They held out and they made sure that they didn't concede a goal, which was the only way they were going to win, was that they were going to keep a clean sheet. Somehow they could stop City from scoring for maybe 80-85 minutes and then nick something somewhere. That was the only way they were ever going to win the game, because they never looked like they were going to score. City never looked like they were going to concede. Yes, they were frustrated in terms of scoring, but I never thought that Burnley were ever going to get a goal out of this game. And as it proved, that was the way it was. It was always, if City scored the first goal, they were going to go on and win the game. The other part, of course, is I didn't think they were going to win 6-0, and that probably says a lot about Vincent Kompany as a manager. For all, again, you've got to look at the pre-match, the way that they were going on about Kompany and what a great job he has done at Burnley, and on all of these things. I mean, again, I'm not saying that Kompany hasn't done a great job for Burnley, but the way they talk about Kompany is almost like he's the second coming of Carlo Ancelotti or Federico Sacchi or something like that. He's an okay manager. He's still new in the job. He didn't do a great job at Anderlecht by all accounts. So, the fact is that he's learning his trade. He's still, and he's going to get better in management. I'm sure he's going to have a decent career. The way at least he could have a great career, but he'll definitely have a good career. But when you start putting comments, things like, when you start saying things like that, it just turns people off. And I know why they do it. They do it because of that Pep Guardiola Manchester City connection. Because right now, City are the team that everybody wants to kiss the ass of, and so they want to kiss his ass. So it's fair, and it's interesting as well how for so long, even towards the end of the match, they go first 32 minutes they fought and it was a contest. Was it a contest? Is that what we call a contest these days? Is that what we call a contest? Anyway, rant over. Let's talk about the game itself. Like I said, Burnley were never really in it. What I did like about Erling Haaland, though, is I think he was a lot more involved in the build-up play than he usually is, especially in terms of the goals. Because normally, you look at Haaland, he's just there for a tap-in. But I think at least 2 of the 3 goals, he was quite involved in the play. He was quite involved in making things happen. So I like that about Erling Haaland, and it bodes really well for Manchester City, because what it means is that he's starting to get a hang of how he's supposed to play with his teammates, rather than just doing his own thing and expecting things to go his way. I think he's starting to make things happen, and that is bad news for everybody else. But I mean, the first goal, I mean, I've got to say, Bailey Peacock-Farrell didn't really look that good to me, and I'm sure if they get to the Premier League, they'll want an upgrade on him. He's not their first choice goalkeeper, but I think even for a second choice, they'll probably want someone better, because, and I've seen Peacock-Farrell play quite a few times over the years. I just don't think he's anything special. I mean, I just don't think he's someone who who can even be a second choice goalkeeper for a Premier League team. I just don't think he has that ability. But nonetheless, talking about the goals, I mean, like I said, that first goal was a good, again, it was a great pass from Alvarez, and then he scored, and then Haaland puts it past Farrell. I think Peacock-Farrell gets a little bit too overexcited, because when he sees that ball go through, I think he can probably, because Haaland wasn't in control entirely of that shot. He puts it away, but the kind of shot he puts away, I think Peacock-Farrell, I mean, I'm not saying that he could have saved it, but I just think he got a bit overeager I think he panicked once he saw Haaland through on goal. He just panicked instead of trying to compose himself and maybe give himself a better chance of saving that shot. Because the kind of thing that he does there's no way he's saving that shot. That's going in. And then, of course, there was another goal, which I think was Alvarez's second goal. But again, he just looks a lot of sorts. It goes in. It's 6-0. I mean, yeah, he just didn't have a good game. And here's another thing is, after that first goal, Kompany goes and talks to his players. He's trying to motivate. I don't know what he's saying to them, probably motivating them, probably telling them some tactics or whatever. 2 minutes later, they concede again. I mean, these kind of things make people look bad, and it makes it worse when you spend the whole pre-match trying to talk up this young manager who's not got a lot of experience of top level football, and you kind of talk him up as this next big thing, and then that happens. It just makes them look bad, and it's just sad. But that second goal, I mean, it's a typical Haaland goal, isn't it? But it's the weight of the pass from De Bruyne to Foden is excellent. It's a beautiful pass, because that's what Kevin De Bruyne does. So good down the line, and when the ball comes from Foden, I mean, all he's got to do is he's got to pick out Haaland, and Haaland will score, and he does. The third goal is a rebound goal, but again, he set that up. He made that happen. Like he did the first goal. I like the fact that he won the header and then he moved back, and the third goal is when he made that happen with that pass. He's involved in the build-up play, but the pass from Mahrez again is very good to Foden. Foden probably should score from there, but hits the post. But there's Haaland, he's there and he'll score. It is a talent. It is a talent being able to be in the right place, knowing exactly where the rebounds are going to go. That is a talent in itself as well. It's a goal and it's 3-0. It's a hat trick. He's scored 42 goals already this season. He's going to score. I think he's definitely going to go past 50. And if City stay in the Champions League till the end of the season, I think he could get close. If not hit 60, I think he'll definitely get very close to 60 because he seems on a completely different level at the moment, and I just don't know if there's anything that can stop him. But speaking of stopping, Julian Alvarez. If he was playing for any other club at this point, he would be seen as the next big thing. At least one of the brightest young talents in world football. He is one of the brightest young talents in world football. But because he's at Manchester City, he's a squad player. It feels like he's already made it, right? And so he's like he has to buy this time because he's never going to play ahead of Haaland. He's never ever going to get ahead of Haaland. So he's either going to have to wait till he leaves, or he's going to have to figure out how he can play differently. And I do think he offers something different to any of the other players that City have, and something different to Haaland as well, for that matter. But it's just a matter how do you use him and how do you bring him in. At the moment, I just don't see. I see Alvarez has a role to play. I just don't think Pep Guardiola is ever going to see him as a starter in a big game. I just don't think that. But maybe I'll be proved wrong. Maybe they'll figure out a way to use him. But that's the embarrassment of riches Manchester City have, isn't it? That a player like Alvarez can be a super sub and a squad player, but such are the inequalities in modern football these days. Anyway, yes, it was after that second goal. Once the second goal went in, you knew Burnley were done. And it was just a matter of how many City could score, and they scored third, and they could score 4, 5, 6. And again, this is where good managers or great managers with experience, they understand what they have to do. They understand that they have to shut up shop. Now, it doesn't work always. Sometimes, like it happened to Manchester United. They lost 7-0 because they all collectively lost their heads, and it can happen. I don't think Burnley lost their heads. I just think that, Kompany just went, right, I'm not going to defend. I'm going to keep playing. Maybe there was something playing on his mind to do that. But when you've got a rampant City, you don't at 3-0, 4-0, you're trying to shut up shop. You want to close the game out. You don't want to concede anymore. But for some reason, Burnley just kept going and kept giving space to Manchester City, and they just kept getting punished for it. So it's a harsh lesson for Kompany, and I hope he learns from it, and I hope he does better. They are going to be in the Premier League next season, barring a massive meltdown, but I think they will be there. And this team is not good. Is probably going to good enough to stay up. It's good enough to stay up, but I don't think it's good enough to really challenge for a top 10 spot. So they'll need additions, but we'll see what happens this summer. From Manchester City's perspective, I don't think that from this point on to the end of the season, they're going to lose any game domestically. I think they will win the FA Cup. I don't think they will lose a game in the Premier League. I know they've got Liverpool to come and they've got Arsenal to come. I just don't see how Liverpool or Arsenal are going to be able to beat them. I don't. So for Arsenal now, tomorrow's game was important. It's massively, massively important, because the moment they lose or they draw a game, City will be in the driving seat because they're not going to lose a game. So Arsenal have got to be perfect from here. And the good thing for them is that they're out of the Europa League studies. They have that rest because they're going to have to focus on each game now and just take one win. That's all they can hope for, because they draw, they lose, the title is City's. That's the way I see it. And I know it's not one game. They've hammered Leipzig. They beat Palace when they probably should have drawn, but they somehow managed to get that win. And now they've beaten Burnley as well. They've scored 13 goals in the last 2 games. That is peak City form. And the problem is they're hitting form at the right time. And they're just going to keep going. And the good thing about them, see, the difference between them and Liverpool is that Liverpool win a big game, 7-0, and then they just, wilt away, because they don't have that mentality. City don't. City won 7-0, and they said, that's done. We go in the next game, we score 6 goals again. That is championship mentality, that championship winning mentality. And I just don't see, how City can be stopped. And this is what they do. This is how they win titles. They towards the end, the middle of the season, they sometimes have a bit of a wobble, and you start thinking, is there something happening? And then just say, that was just something. We just go and win 10, 15 games in a row. That's what they do. And I'll tell you this now. No matter whether they play Chelsea, or no matter whether they play Real Madrid in the semi-finals, if they can get past Bayern in the quarterfinals, and form suggests that they will, because I don't think Bayern are that good, they will be definitely favorites to win the Champions League. They will be. I think they will. And you know what? I say this. If they get past Bayern, they're winning the Champions League. The only reason Bayern have a chance is because of their pedigree. So if they can overcome that, then, are Chelsea really a threat? Or Real Madrid really a threat? Real Madrid are a threat because of their pedigree. Chelsea are a threat because, probably because, Chelsea are a threat because of their past history with City in Europe. You beat Bayern, you've beaten that pedigree and that history. And suddenly, what's there to stop them? They're better than Chelsea. They're better than Real Madrid. They are. So the only question is that pedigree, right? And if they beat Bayern, they've shown that pedigree doesn't matter. So that's where I'm at. But nonetheless, yeah, I mean, it was a game that really didn't have a lot. I mean, it's fun to watch a game where there's a contest between two teams. This wasn't a contest, so there's not a lot I can say about Burnley. I mean, all I can say is really about City, but there's not a lot you can take from this game as well. As a City fan, what do you take from this game? Because it was so one-sided. You can't you can't really make judgments about any players based on this game. A few. What you can look at it though is from the perspective of, well, what does it mean for the rest of the season? And that's where we've gone. So it's a game where you win and then you start looking forward because of the nature of that win. Had they lost, then we probably would have talked more. But yeah, that's just what it is. Anyway, let me know your comments on the game. What did you think about the performance? I mean, do you share my favorite? I think the treble is on. The treble is on. That's the way I think I should finish it. They said the treble is on for Manchester City. They could do the treble this season, and they very well could. But yeah, let me know your thoughts. Smash like if you enjoyed this video. Smash like for City's win. Smash like for Erling Haaland for all. Yeah, there's just so many world-class players in that Manchester City team on there. And do subscribe to the channel on YouTube. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Always love your support. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you again soon. Bye-bye.